preparing for my best gardening season yet. Here's how I'm gonna do it. Okay, so I've never done a video like this on my channel before, but I do get a lot of questions and comments about my backyard garden. So I figured, why not do a dedicated video on it? And I think now is the perfect time to, because technically I'm a week or so late in the gardening season, but I'm doing much better than I did last year, and basically gardening season is happening right now. So I figured it would be a good time to get things started. If you're starting on your garden as well, now is the good time to probably watch a video like this. I'm just going to be sharing what I'm going to be growing, because I think that's my top question. Some things, some programs, some tools I'll be using to help me in my gardening season, and then like the first few steps that I'm going to take in my gardening season. If you guys like this video, let me know. But also, if I notice that y'all like it, I will definitely do follow-up videos throughout the gardening season. So we'll see how this little series or potential series goes. Last year was a very, very experimental year for me. I started my gardening season in June, so I was super late. I did not know what I was doing. I didn't have all of my tools. I was building the greenhouse as I was growing other things in the raised bed. So it was super experimental, and I kind of just jumped into it and started learning as I was also growing things. And I don't know, I just thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I cannot wait to get out there and be in the thick of things once the gardening season starts to progress. What am I planting? So I will first and foremost say that I'm planting 99% of my produce from seeds. Everything's gonna be from seeds. The other 1% are gonna be herbs, because I don't think it's practical to do herbs from seeds. I can just get like a tiny little plant from wherever I'm going, like whatever nursery I'm going to, and that would be more practical, I think. But everything else is going to be from seeds. And let me pull up my list of everything that I want. So essentially it's just fruits and veggies, nothing else, no flowers or anything like that. I do have some pollinator plants that I believe come back year over year, so that's gonna be on one side of the house, but everything else that I'm kind of maintaining for my gardening season is fruits and veggies. So I've got basil, that's an herb, but I also have broccoli, carrots, dill, that's an herb, kale, lettuce, onions, peppers. I'm not sure what kind of peppers, we'll see what seeds I can get. But maybe multiple types of peppers. Potatoes, maybe. I don't know how successful I would be with potatoes. Radishes, spinach, and several kinds of tomatoes. I always do an heirloom tomato because those are my favorite tomatoes, and I kind of want to try a couple more tomatoes to diversify my tomato selection by the end of the gardening season. I think that's all I've got. Maybe I'll pick up some other things. I know I also wanted to find Chinese broccoli or bok choy or something like that, but we'll see what I can find when it comes to the seeds. Before I started making this list, I did a lot of research, one, as to what I want and what I know I will use a lot of, because of course I'm going to grow a lot of produce, fingers crossed, and so I want to make sure that I'm actually using the produce once it's time for harvesting. But also, I looked up companion plants. So a lot of these plants will do well if they're sitting in the same raised bed together. And I have kind of limited space. My backyard isn't massive, and I have I have 6 raised beds, and then I have a greenhouse, which the greenhouse is small, so I only anticipate keeping my herbs and maybe 1 or 2 plants in there, but everything else are gonna be in my 6 raised beds. So limited space, I wanna make sure I'm using it as effectively as possible, and so that's how I came up with the selection. Programs and tools, what am I using to kind of help me, guide me through this gardening season? Like I said last year, I didn't really use anything. I was learning and doing it at the same time. I did also get some books to help me out there, and so of course I'm gonna be using those books. I'll probably share those books with you once I get closer to like actually doing something in the garden, but right now I didn't even pull those out yet, so more to come there. But I'm also going to be using a program called SeedTime. I'm not going to show you like a tutorial of this right now because I'll show you some screenshots. I'll show you some screen recordings right now, like here on the screen. You can see that it's a bit overwhelming. So I don't want to overwhelm you, and I also don't want to overwhelm me, and I also don't want to commit to this program because I might not end up using it. I'm just experimenting with it right now, and we'll see how it goes. The only reason why I decided to go with this program, by the way, it's called Seed Time, and I found it from a fellow creator, Julia Christ. She's doing a flower garden, and so she was using this, and I decided, why not give it a try as well? Because I never thought to use like a digital program to help me with my gardening, aside from Notion. So we'll see how this goes, but like I said, it is overwhelming, and I don't know how effective it actually will be for me. The main purpose why I'm giving it a try is because maybe it will help me with harvesting and knowing what plants need to be harvested at what exact time. Because last year I had a little bit of an issue where, or the couple of years. One year I had my broccoli bolt, so that was bad, and that was the only time I got a successful broccoli, so that was upsetting. And then last year I had radishes grow, and they were beautiful, they were big, but they were extremely bitter because I left them in the ground a little too long. And the thing with radishes is that if you leave them in the ground for like 1 day too long, they will immediately taste bitter, and you can't fix that. So I'm hoping this program would help me with that, but if not, I might end up not even using it. But anyway, I'm gonna give it a try, and as you can see from this program, it says that I was supposed to start seeding back in February. Now it's kind of funky because in February I opened up this program and I started it, and I knew that I had to start in February, but I didn't because it was actually very cold in February. We had several snowstorms. So I figured it would be okay, and I think I'm still okay, even though I did say at the top of the video that I'm a couple of weeks late, but it said that I needed to start seeding my kale, lettuce, and broccoli all in February. Obviously I did not do that, so I don't know how that's gonna affect things. I think I'll be okay, especially because lettuce grows super easily, and my kale did so well last year, and I started it in the middle of the summer, so I think I'll be okay. But the other things are kind of laid out on this calendar grid. There are other features of this program, but you have to pay for a lot of them, and I don't want to get too overwhelmed anyway. So I'm just going to be looking at this calendar, and the calendar is essentially telling me when to seed, when to prepare my beds, when to add my seedlings into the raised beds, things like that. And so I think that's super helpful for someone or something to just tell me when to do it, so I don't have to guess. Because I did a lot of guessing last year. As you've heard me say a million times, it was very experimental. So we'll see what happens, but I need to go to a nursery and get my seeds first and foremost. I was supposed to do that last weekend, but I'll probably do it this weekend. I waited once more because we're having a lot of rain this week, and it wasn't like I was gonna go back there and fix up the backyard anyway. If you did not know, my backyard is a complete mess right now. But yeah, first need to get those seeds, and then I'll start seeding. I think I'm gonna start seeding based off of this program, what it tells me. So it's gonna be kale, lettuce, broccoli. By the time I get the seeds, I'll also have to do the Chinese broccoli if I can find Chinese broccoli. Tomatoes, I'm not sure which kinds of tomatoes. I think all 3 of the tomatoes that I end up going with, and my peppers. So a lot to be done, and I'm excited for it. That's essentially what I'm going to be using. A lot of intuition, instinct, but also the Seed Time program and my little experience that I got from last year and the year before that. The first step that I'm going to do, of course, is to clean the space and then check out my compost. So I need to clean the backyard. The backyard is a complete mess. I haven't been out there for months, obviously, because it was winter. And so I just need to assess the place, see what it looks like. And I know for a fact that my raised beds are a mess because I have some old plants in there that I need to kind of clean out. I think it's just one, actually. It's the broccoli that we left in there because it was doing really well, and we thought that we'd be able to harvest something, and then it started snowing, so that didn't work out. So I have to clean that out, and I need to clean and fix up my greenhouse, because the greenhouse, a panel from the ceiling, from the roof, like caved in, and so I need to fix it because obviously there's a hole, there's a gap in the roof, so I need to fix that. And then I need to clean inside of the greenhouse because there are dead plants, herbs, and stuff all in there that got damaged from the roof coming in. So just need to clear all of that out, have a nice clean slate, And then I need to check the compost. The reason why I need to check it is because we have like this compost that like a compost bin that kind of aerates and you toss it over every once in a while. So that's fine. The issue with the compost that I need to check is that we threw down compost after we pulled out all of our plants from last gardening season, and the compost was not fully composted or developed. I don't know, decayed? I don't know what the right word is there, but it was not fully compost. It wasn't 100% compost. We did not know that. Like I said, I was experimenting last year, and so I thought that it was good enough because it looked kind of like compost, but I kind of left this task to Ian, and Ian didn't tell me that, one, everything wasn't broken down perfectly, and two, it was smelling so disgusting. So when I came back outside after he laid everything out and I smelled how disgusting it was, I had to run back inside, do the research, and find out that the compost wasn't fully composted, but he had tossed it everywhere. So for him to kind of go back and like take it out, it was already like 9 p.m. So we just left it in there, and I figured, okay, let's just leave it in there, and then maybe throughout the seasons where there's nothing in there, it will continuously compost, animals will come and go, and maybe it'll be perfect by the time it's gardening season. So I have to check and see if that's the case. Something tells me that it's not the case, but fingers crossed that we're having the best case scenario there. But that is the first and foremost thing that I need to do. The second step is for me to seed. So I need to get the seeds, which are all of the seeds that I told you that I'm gonna be getting. Again, the herbs, I'm most likely just gonna get them as plants already, like little plants already, instead of doing them from seed, but I need to get all the other seeds, and I do wanna get a little bin so that I can put the remainder of my seeds in there, because I usually just toss the packet of seeds in a spot and then they spill everywhere, and then I can't find the seeds after the next gardening season. So I wanna get a little bin for that as well. And then I need to actually start the seeds. So I have these containers, they're kind of like this big, they're very big, and they have like maybe 24 little spaces in them. And so they're essentially seed starters, and it's all in this one tray. And so I put in the soil, I put in the seeds, and then they kind of grow in this little hub together. And then when they start becoming little sprouts, I kind of pop them out and put them into the raised beds. So that's essentially what I'm starting. I'm starting the little seedling hub here first. And that's going to live in the greenhouse. That's where all of the seedlings are going to become little sprouts. And then I'll start moving them out, and then I'll start replanting. There's a whole process with replanting them, by the way. You can't just turn them into little sprouts and then transfer them straight into the raised beds. It will shock them, and then they will die, and then you'll have to start all over. So there's a process, and I can tell you more about that once I get closer to it, but that's a whole process in itself as well. So that's part of the seeding step, and that's what's to come once we get a little bit closer to like the thick of spring, the midst of spring. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And what do I anticipate? I anticipate just one hurdle, and that is groundhogs. Groundhogs were the biggest issue that I had last year. They were complete menaces when it came to my garden, and I could not find a way to resolve this. So it's going to be my biggest issue this year for sure, especially because it's not even spring yet, and I saw a groundhog in my backyard. Just kind of walking around, not doing anything, but they were there, and so they're coming back this gardening season. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have chicken wire up on a raised bed, and they still manage to get in there and get to my broccoli and kale. So we need to do some serious plotting against these groundhogs. I love groundhogs, they're super cute, but they will eat everything in your garden. And I'm not even joking when I said that 90% of my produce from last year was eaten by the groundhogs, and they ate it up in like a day's time. They even ate a bunch of my sprouts when I was doing seedlings. How did they get into the greenhouse? I think it was a really hot day, and so I had to open up the greenhouse to get some air filtering in there. And so they just walked in, jumped on the stool that I had in there, jumped onto my table where my seedlings were, and just munched them all away. So Groundhogs are menaces when it comes to your garden. That's the only hurdle that I have for now, but once again, if you're interested in hearing more about my garden season, I can definitely do more videos throughout the season. Maybe a couple more videos when I get to like big stages when it comes to the season, and I'll keep you updated. But let me know if you are doing a garden this year, what you're gonna be planting, what you're gonna be trying to grow, whether you have an indoor garden, an outdoor garden. When I lived in New York City, I had an indoor garden. I still have my hydroponic system here. Maybe I'll start it up again, we'll see. But my dedication is going to the backyard garden. So thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope it was interesting and educational, maybe a little bit, but I am so excited for garden season, and I will talk to you in next week's video.